DJ Event Planner will change the way you manage and run your business. Streamline all of your procedures and software into one easy-to-manage system. DJ Event Planner, the ultimate online planning tool.
But no, John, we need to spill all the secrets. Like now.
Wait, no, hang on a second.
Rey is really Luke's illegitimate daughter.
What?
You didn't catch that from the preview?
Now, if you do it one more time, I'm gonna hang up.
I have no idea what that said, but okay then.
That was actually one of my call recorder. The custom, and the Indian accented man was like, "You do that one more time, and I am going to hang up." I put that up there so every time that because you have this propensity to mention Megaseg every time. So every time you were going to mention Megaseg.
Now, if you do it one more time, I'm gonna hang up.
Now it makes a lot more sense.
Okay.
Oh my. Well, on that note, thank you very much for tuning in on this Monday evening. I truly appreciate each and every one of you for taking time out of your busy schedule. And if you don't know what I was getting at, maybe 15 minutes before we came on the air, they finally revealed the final Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker trailer. And it was as cryptic as everything else.
As all the other ones for the last number of years.
Pretty much as cryptic as the other movies have been, let alone the trailers leading up to them. So, yeah. But anyway, so with that note, we do have a very cool show for you tonight. John and I started talking about this last week. And this actually, I will say this came from one of you guys during the chat. I forget who it was. I'm hitting myself now for not having that. But during the chat, one of the descriptions we said, hey, if you got an idea, and when one of the questions it came basically, how do you deal when you have let me see if I still have it in here, a venue manager who is so strict, everything is by the rules and not the brides. And then John and I got to talking, and we said, you know what, that makes a great topic, not necessarily maybe just the strict people, but all the different types of venue managers that we might be able to deal with, and really just kind of giving some insight into that. So tonight's show is going to be giving some tips, some tricks, and just some advice maybe on how to talk and work with all these venue managers, because for every different place that you might play, there's probably a different type of venue manager.
Pretty much. We came up with 10 right off the top of our heads, and it didn't take long. So let's start with our very first one. These are our little quirky type things that the venue managers may display. This could be a catering manager. This could be the venue owner. This could be a variation thereof. We've all run into the person who's in charge with one of these personality traits. So let's start with the one that basically was referred to in the question, a control freak. You've got a venue manager who is wanting to be in complete control to the delight or the chagrin of the other vendors in the couple. How do you deal with that, Dan, when you've had situations where the venue manager comes up and is like, hey, this is how we do it here?
So we have one place in my area that is totally, like, the second this came into mind, this person was instantly in my view. And for my local people who have played in my town, you're probably thinking of the exact same person. And so I'm going to try and be as cryptic as I can for that reason. She's really nice, don't get me wrong, but very much, this is my place, this is my rules, this is the way it's going to be.
Yeah.
I actually tried to do something and it backfired for me. So a couple years ago, I was playing in this venue, and I knew this the way that she was, just from a couple of interactions with her. I knew this was how it was going to be. And so I just said, you know what, I'm going to do the kill him with kindness. I'm going to go in, I'm going to try and be helpful. I'm going to try and be, almost over the top in my nicety, if you can call it that.
Sure.
And I actually, and at one point I was kind of following her with something, or I happened to be passing by her, and she just turned and she snapped my head off. And she was just like, you have been nothing but it. And I was just like, Like, and the whole rest of the night, the rest of my game was just completely off because I was just like, what did I do? What did I say? How did I tick her off? Like legit, like what did I do? And I realized that for when I was trying to kill her with kindness, I don't know if she thought I was kissing up, whether she thought I was going against her, but I quickly realized that when I'm at this particular venue, I do my job. I do my job and I don't worry about anything else. And if I see one of her staff doing something that they shouldn't do, I turn the blind eye to it. And I hate to do that for my couples. I hate to kind of, and not that like tattle on them or something like that, but you know, a mug is left or a water pitcher is left out and it's empty. I'm not touching it because that's not my place. And if I go there, I'm going to run into an issue with her and I do not want to have to do that. So I focus on mine. I focus all the energies on everything that I have to deal with. And then of course you play by their rules. Their house, their rules. So there's certain things that I know going in, and I just make sure I know them. I'm not bothering her. I'm not gonna waste any time of hers. And since then, it's been great. When I've been back for other things, it was probably about a couple years in between, but now I've been there. I have a recurring event about once a year that's there for a corporate client, and then I have a couple others weddings that I've done there. And when I've gone in with that mentality, completely different situation.
I like your phrase, your house, your rules. And I think that's the part that sometimes chafes us a little bit. But in reality, when you have that person who's a very controlling person, it's got to be that way. We aren't in a position, because as Day mentions here, Mr. T tonight, by the way, is Day, day and night. That happens, and it can cost you a lot of money really quick with future referrals. And not only at their venue, but sometimes as a bride will go and get a price list from venue A and from venue B and venue C, and venue A has got it in for you, and she will hand out, and here's the DJs who are referred to. And if the bride's like, oh, wait, I don't see John Young on this list. What's going on? Oh yeah, he's a jerk. He's so tough to work with, and he's got this fetish with Megaseg. I don't understand it, and things like that can go and fit. I could say I could play my little.
Now, if you do it one more time, I'm gonna hang up.
That was so funny listening to him go on. For those of you who don't know, I've got a call blocker, robo blocker on my phone, and it's a script that this guy has done. And sometimes it catches, and I've got a couple of them on my Facebook page, but where it'll catch a spam caller. And this was one that he was engaging with it, and he got ticked off at it because he thought it was real. It was, So anyway.
Oh my.
So their house, their rules. I think is probably just a good way to kind of leave that one. When you have that control freak, you smile, you do that, and if it's bad enough, you don't burn a bridge. You just don't come, you just don't accept events there if it's that bad.
But I think it's going to lead us to, I might even skip down to the third one or the fourth one that we have here. I think part of the reason why sometimes we have like you said, chase us, because we've been at some of those venues where we get the other side, the different type of manager who is very aloof, very just whatever, and we can't do the your house, your rules because there are no rules. And so you almost have to know what you're dealing with going in, and that can sometimes be the hardest piece of this whole thing, is identifying the type of venue manager, the type of owner that you're going to be dealing with ahead of time.
And you're jumping down to I don't give a crap, make my day easy. Yeah, they kind of, and this is another personality style where they've got the venue and they paid for the venue's been paid off for 10 years, 20 years, and they just basically want you to make their day as easy as possible. If you're going to use anything that makes a mess, they want you to clean up the mess on the floor. If you are doing anything that's going to be like running over by 10 seconds, they're not going to be happy with you, because they want in, out, and make their money and get things done as quickly as possible. The negative about that is beyond that, that's the only guidance you're going to get from them. And sometimes you won't even hear that from them. You can just see their apathy and their disdain for actually the people that are there, which happens. But their idea is that, we're here to make their day easy, take care of problems so they don't have to deal with it. And however you do that, it's up to you. We really don't care. I've got a couple of those venue managers that I have worked with, and one of them, just because of being able to do what I needed to do to his level of satisfaction, i.e., made his life easier. For a while, he was referring me quite heavily because he's like, yeah, John comes in, does his thing, and he knows how to work the crowd, and he knows enough to shut down at ending time. That was a big thing for him. That was really about the only thing he cared about. So
and as nice as sometimes, or as frustrating in some ways as that can be, or no, I should say nice as it can be. One of the frustrating sides to it is that you almost want them to care a little. You want to have that connection, like with them. And when that's the connection, it's kind of like, okay, I'll do my thing and see you later. It's just it's hard to build a relationship in those environments.
Yeah, because in many cases it's almost like they don't want to be there most of the time. That's what you're picking up. So, actually we should probably jump down for venue managers and that don't want to be there. There's times where they aren't there; they're non-existent.
Yeah,
and you get there and you're like, hey. How do we handle this? Where can I do this? Where can I? Well, Joe would be the one. And where's Joe? Well, he might be around before the guests arrive. We don't know. Okay, so where do I pull power? Well, he would know. The non-existent venue manager who basically has booked it and just doesn't. And I've had this where it's been the catering manager is supposed to be there, and they don't show up. And it's incredibly frustrating because how do you deal in making decisions or utilizing decisions from someone who should be there to make these decisions but isn't?
Well, I think one of the things that needs to be done in advance, and this becomes hard because the non-existent, a lot of times they're non-existent throughout.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they're the cheap venue, or they're the venue that just happens to look a certain way so people want to be there. They don't care that the customer service isn't necessarily the greatest. But I think what you almost have to be proactive in a lot of this, and this helps you determine what type you're dealing with, would be to find all that information that you're going to need to know before you show up as part of your precursor calls, as part of your site walkthroughs, as part of finding what you need to find, so that way you get that information. And the day of, if he's non-existent, you're already doing what you need to do. And then you just kind of take the reins on where you can. And when somebody comes and asks you a question that you don't know, sorry, I don't actually work here, but let's see if we can figure it out together. Just a couple weeks ago, I was at this one venue, and the owner, they live near there.
Sure.
It's like on the property of like a family member or something like that. Some of the way it goes together. And we show up and I'm talking to the bartender who like works there all the time. It's an outside contracted type of thing, but it is there almost all the time. And I said, hey, this is a little bit different than we were supposed to be doing. I said, you think this? And he goes, I don't know. Kind of like what you're saying. Like she might know, but she's not here. And I said, well, we're just going to make it go, but yeah, let's go try and figure it out together. Like we were crawling around, and I've got some pictures I gotta share with Ben Stowe at some point that might make him cry about this place. But we found some of those things, and we just kind of went with it. And when the couples and the family members were asking questions, we were just like, we didn't cover for her, but with the same respect, we were just like, we didn't leave them hanging either.
Yeah. And that's ultimately what you have to do, is what's in the best case when you can, without stepping on toes, what's in the best case of your clients and such. Because you're going to be held responsible because, well, there's no one else in authority to make things happen. I found this type of venue manager probably the most at VFWs and American Legions, where you've got someone who's hired to run the thing and may or may not be there because they were hired by the Legion board and that's a bunch of 70-year-old guys who just are tired, and they don't have the ambition, gumption, what have you, to make sure that the person that's organizing and running the building is doing what they need to do. I think probably 3 or 4 of my VFW experiences. Right now there's only 2 of those VFWs that exist, and they've had changes. But for the longest time, they had the non-existent manager there. So let's jump back up to one of my favorite ones, and the second one there on the list is the drunken venue manager or owner. This is one that I absolutely love, this one, because they start off and they do their things, and once the meal's over, then they start pounding them down, and they drink faster than the guests, and then they can lead to a number of the other ones. But the part I wanted to talk about with the drunken one is once they've had a few drinks, now all of a sudden they're going to come up there and they're going to be trying to run the event at some level. Mm-hmm. And many times they're making a fool out of themselves. And I have had this situation. Have you ever had one where you've worked with a venue manager or owner who's been way too intoxicated to be there?
No. Fortunately, I have not. Most of mine don't.
Let me
rephrase that. They'll hit the bar, but not that's in the desk of their office in another room, and that's where they end up staying. So they become the non-existent, but not in front of the guests or not at the guest bar.
So over the years, I've had 2 owners of venues, in essence, would become the managers in that role, and they would do that. And once the meal was over, and as the tables were being broken down, that's when they would start drinking. And then once the dance started, they were trying to direct, helping them get the gifts out and helping them do this. And actually, in one case, he would like to, you guys need to go take a picture, the sunset picture. And he was trying to direct traffic, but he was so intoxicated that he couldn't direct traffic. And it was one of those situations where I, as the person with the microphone, had to, in essence, talk him down, not with the microphone by any means, but the song's playing. I'm over there trying to, hey, they didn't really want to do that tonight. And trying to put it from a perspective and bring him back to that. What the couple want is one thing, and what you're suggesting is something else, and they really didn't want that. After I knew what he did, I was able to actually head some of that off with the couples and say, now, once Fred has had too much to drink, Fred's going to want to go, and he's going to want you to take a picture under the moose head. True story. The name was changed, but there was a moose head in there. He wants to get pictures of that. If you want to get a picture with the moose head, great. If you don't, please let me know, and then I'll just let Fred know when that time comes that you guys would rather not take a picture with the moose head. Most couples were like, oh, yeah, we'll take a picture of the moose head. If that's important to him, we'll do it. Okay, great. One couple, and one I headed off, and because they didn't want to. The reason I brought this up is because I had a couple, and they were completely horrified because they were anti-hunters and vegan. And all of a sudden, Fred's like, we got to go take the picture by the moose head. Well, the drunken venue manager, drunk in the office. Yeah, Howie's mentioning the drunk in the office one. You've got to handle it with kids' gloves because you don't want to offend. You don't want to make him or her look bad. You don't want to ruin that relationship. But you also have to watch out in that case of what's in the best interest for your couple, because once they've had that much alcohol, they're impaired. Their judgment is impaired, and they could do something that's going to be a lasting negative memory for the people who have hired you.
Do you find that you want to walk that line, obviously, because you don't want to be bad mouth, but when you have a situation that's to that extent, and it's the owner, okay, it's not a venue manager who's going to get canned or potentially get canned in a month or whatever it might be, but when it's the owner who's basically not going to go anywhere, do you find yourself maybe not caring as much what they think? Because you know what, if I really don't have to deal with drunk Fred anymore, it makes my night a little bit easier. Like when I've got drunk guests, it's one thing, but when I've got drunk vendors that I'm dealing with or working with, it's suddenly a whole other can of worms, especially when it's in front of everybody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it gets to be so difficult is that most of the things we're having to try to fix in front of everybody and dealing with things in front of everybody. We don't have the benefit of pulling a curtain and then behind on stage, but behind a curtain, and then to talk to someone in a way that needs to be dealt with. It's so hard because half the time you end up burning bridges. And I think that's probably the most negative part of it. But on the flip side is that sometimes some of those bridges you burn were probably not bridges you wanted to keep anyway because of situations. So we've kind of actually referred to this between the drinking one and the non-existent was the disappearing one, where they're always somewhere else. And as Howie and Dana both mentioned, sometimes they're off drinking. My story with this situation is that I'm at a hotel version, and the catering manager also became the MOD after like 10 o'clock at night. So they had to be bouncing back and forth, and you're needing some things, or if there's questions or different things such as that, and they're always gone. They're up doing this, they're up doing that. They're just, in that case, just over scheduled, what have you, for lack of a better way to describe it. But the disappearing decision makers is always difficult. For whatever reason, they're not there.
I always say when you talk about the overscheduled one, while you're checking out some other things here, when they're overscheduled, because they're doing a lot, but in the same respect, you're kind of scheduled because of the songs, so you've only got like a couple minutes to catch them anyway. And then it always seems like when I had those type, they're always in the room right when I'm ready to transition a song, or I'm going into an event, and then all of a sudden I see them walk in the door, and it's like, I'll get you in a second. I got to talk to you, and it's like, and then they're gone again, and it's like, come on, just never fails. Never fails.
So if you would be able to go and take your music and put it into an auto playlist, and then you can go down. And there's this one cool software that has a great auto.
Yeah, it's virtual DJ.
Yeah, it works pretty well. So one venue I have here, and they sold, but one venue was one of the first ones I started working with, and it continued for 20 years of my performing there, probably 22 years, and then I think he finally sold, is that the venue manager wanted to be the star of the show. He wanted to make all announcements. He wanted to tell the story and do some different things with that and introduce. And he was on the microphone, especially during up until their first dance, he was on the microphone 10 times as much as I was. Even when I was doing more elaborate introductions and things, he still wanted to be the voice over the microphone. I have another venue right now that I've been doing some events at in northern Minnesota. And the venue owner has this thing he does. He starts out and he welcomes everyone there. And this is after the introductions, everyone is at the head table. He does a welcome to the room. He does a little thank you for coming, and isn't the bride beautiful and the groom looks stunning type of thing. And then he goes and introduces the meal, the menu for the night. And adding, and now they're going to be having bean stroganoff, which was a warm cream on top of some pasta and whatever. He's going through and he's doing elaborate meal. This is his thing because, to a point, these are managers who want to be the star of the show at a specific time. I haven't had a good way of dealing with this. Every time they've done it, it's been a cringe moment. Sometimes, like the one that's still doing it up north, people have just got anyone who's been there. It's like, oh yeah, this is what happens here, and then they're okay with it. I struggle with this one because it could be so much better than what happens, but it's their moment to be the star, and I want to give me that microphone back type of thing. But it's like and now, ladies and gentlemen, the bride and groom, yay! And then he's over there by me, like, I want my microphone now, please. He's taking the mic and he's off to go do his little thing. How do you handle a situation like that without burning bridges, without being a jerk? This one I struggle with. I haven't been able to come up with a way to handle this and make it so it would be a Jim Cerrone level of MC type of thing, where it's like, ooh, that was smooth and everyone loved it. It's great.
Yeah. Now you said it could be so much better. Now my question is, because of MC skills, because of the topic of conversation, like what, or both?
It really could be the MC skills in directing traffic, and it goes from a thank you, of directing attention to the head table and what have you, and then introducing how the food is going to be or they're going to be released. This should take a total of maybe a minute, maybe 2 at most. This becomes an 8 to 10 minute thing because it is this long drawn out. It's again, it's a performance for him, and it's kind of like a very bad actor performing. You know, you just know that this person doesn't have the skills to be delivering or playing this role that they're playing, and yet there they are. And they're there again next week, and they're there the week, that type of thing. And it's like, it's just could be so much better to do that. You could have a little fun with the crowd and engage more. And it's he's got his routine, and it's the same thing every time. Because every wedding I've done, he's done the same little spiel. And it's like, well, okay.
I think we would do well to be able to, if we can, to approach the venue managers that are like that, especially when we're talking about they want to be at the start of the show and they've got no chops. This isn't they want to be at the start of the show and they're just going to go on forever and ever and ever. But would do well for us to approach them very similar to what we do when we have a DJ that we see, or an inspiring DJ who comes along and does something, and you're like, you know what, that was great, let's chat, or something like that. And even play it off of just one of those things where, hey, by the way, I just got back from this cool workshop, and I wanted to, there were some great ideas that they gave, stuff I never even thought about doing before. And you know what? Since you're using the microphone, I thought maybe you would benefit from it as well. Hey, let me share some of those tips with you. And you would probably have some of them that, no, it's fine. Mm-hmm. Everybody loves what I do. Yeah, but think about this. How much better would it be if they really loved, like if they were browsing about you and stuff like that, and try and coach them a little bit to kind of get into that better presentation mode. Unfortunately, I think it's not going to change until they get couples that say, you know what, we really don't want you to talk about the meal. You want to welcome everybody. Great, but we really, we understand that you do this every time, and our guests really don't need to know how, the bean casserole was made. And try and work, try and work that, hey, I just came from this and I got this really cool idea and I thought you'd benefit from it. And if you can chalk it up with the right enthusiasm, I think you could actually convince some of them, to give some of your ideas a shot. And so even though you're not going to change it, you could at least improve what's being done.
And that's a good point. If not only to improve on it, maybe it would be to actually go to the point of giving him something else to say. Instead of doing the meal, why don't you do this? Why don't you introduce the parents or something to that effect, where it could actually be something of value to the moment and add to it if they indeed want to be on that microphone. So yeah, good idea. Let's jump all the way down to the bottom one, because there's a couple I want to get the other ones kind of in an order. For the venue managers that are the wannabe DJs, in a couple of situations they were DJs. We've got 2 venues that I know of that they were DJs and now are managing the venues. Want to be a DJ, and they want to come up and tell us what music to play to get that dance floor hopping. I bet I've had that 20, 30 times over the years. Obviously not a lot, but on those nights when you've got that person and they're up there again and again and again. People around here, they really like Johnny Cash. You should be playing some Johnny Cash.
Why is it, and here's the funny thing, why is it always the conversations that they have, it's always legit, it's their favorite songs. It's nothing about what they saw the previous 5 DJs do at their venue, but it's the songs that they were probably listening to an hour before the reception started.
Oh yeah, you go to the jukebox and you look and it's like, oh wow, every Johnny Cash song, and no, there's a Conway Twitty right there. Okay. Yeah.
Well, maybe a Kenny, one or two.
Yeah, and that's about the extent of it. And that's always a frustrating one because they've got this thing and I've had a couple of situations where they were really demanding that you got to play it. You got to play it. Every DJ who comes into my bar or the club plays that song. You got to play it. It's like, well, this couple did not want that type of music whatsoever. So it becomes and now, ladies and gentlemen, venue manager Fred here would love to hear this song. So we're going to send this one out to Fred. Everybody turn around and yell, Fred! Push play.
What they didn't tell you, or what he neglected to tell you, was every DJ who comes in here plays this because they do exactly what you did.
Yeah, exactly. And I caved. I haven't had that in a number of years, and it would be interesting to see now how it would respond to that. In the moment, what would I do? Would I basically tell him to, pound pavement, or would it be like, oh yes, I'll do it for you, or oh yes, I'll do it and put it on the list and then never get to it? Mm-hmm. I don't know. I would like to think that I would be able to, handle it in a way in which I could not do it if it didn't fit with my crowd, but I'd probably cave and be a wimp.
And it's hard because again, you want to play ball, you don't want to just totally ignore them, but if you take their request and you run with it and it's a legit just horrible idea, then now you've listened to him for the sake of making yourself look bad, or make yourself look bad for the sake of listening to him. But it's still just it doesn't sit well with me, and I don't think I could do it with any straight face.
In other words, they'd come up there and say, hey, can you play that Johnny Cash? Really?
No.
You're kidding, right? And as we've been talking about this, the place I have run into this in the last probably 5 years has been schools. When you have an advisor come up and say, what's going to go over? You got to play, Humpty Dance. Okay. It might go over. There's some advisors that have some songs. And sometimes, like the one particular school, that's like, you got to play a Michael Jackson song for me. And it's like, really, Michael Jackson? And yet you play the song, and the kids know that advisor, she's got some incredible Michael Jackson dance moves, and it goes over. Most of the time it doesn't. Most of the time it's like, oh, we're playing ZZ Top because the advisor wanted ZZ Top. This is so great.
Yeah,
schools. Let's see. We'll get the other. So the venue manager that was a band person and has a disdain for DJs. DJs are a second-class citizen, and this is when we first started. I mean, I ran into this a lot because there were band people out there, and it's like, you're a DJ. I'd go to the music shop, and it's like, okay, I need to buy some speakers, and they're like, what for? What's the name of your band? I'm a DJ. What? No, I'm sorry, sir. You can't come here and buy your speakers. You need to go somewhere else. It was almost that bad. And I've run into that where there've been these managers who are, either they were musicians or they had a family member, and this whole DJs are just, they suck the life out of the music industry type of opinions. And that one's a tough one because I've never been able to have a conversation with a live musician who had that opinion and to be able to do anything besides say, well, I guess we're going to agree to disagree. Goodbye.
Well, because in a lot of those cases, you're battling however many years of that disdain building up. Some of it might be because in their viewpoint, had DJs never come on the market, my band would still be going. But now, because of you DJs, I have to go now get a real job, and I can't play on the weekends. And so you're not going to be able to change their mind. In those instances, obviously, you're hoping to make a good enough impression on them that they're as a person, they think you're okay, even though they hate what you do. But I haven't run into too many of that or too much of that, mainly because while bands are around here, there's only a few that have been real wedding bands, at least since I've kind of come on the scene, and they're not the ones that are running the venues, like the old or the ones that previous had done it. They're not the ones running the venues. Although I do have some that prefer bands, but I think in some of those times it's just because what they see every day is DJs, and so what they like bands because it's different.
And I get that. I certainly get that. I mean, I've had that conversation numerous times with couples who are like, yeah, we're debating between a DJ and a band. And it's like, okay, so why would you want to hire a DJ? Well, we like the variety of music and things that they can take requests. Okay, great. Why would you want a band? Well, we want to have that live experience of a band. Great. You've got two very good and valid points there. My suggestion is to do both, if you can. Swing them both. Well, we can't. Well, find a really good band and invest in that then, because you're only going to do your wedding reception once, and if you can't get a really good band, then you go with a DJ. If you can get a really good band, that'll be something unique and different. So anyway, yeah. The last two are somewhat similar, but just from the different gender. Starting off with since we've been talking about male venue managers in many cases, is the venue managers who are male chauvinists and basically are going to, at one time when we were a multi-system, I think 2/3 of my staff was female. And there were some venues that our team wouldn't go to. They just absolutely wouldn't, because they knew that if they went to that place, they were going to be degraded in essence by go ask the girl what music she's going to play tonight. Those types of statements, or wow, that's a great blouse you're wearing and whatever. I mean, there were the comments and things that were being said, and the looks and leers and what have you, and they would just wouldn't go. And I'm sure that there's other DJs out there who have experienced that type of thing from venue managers who were being very inappropriate to them. The interesting part of that is that particular venue manager that was the worst of the area, brides they had no idea. You would think that there's some of that if you were that much with the DJs and I bet 4 of my staff members came back over the years and said, you know what he did tonight? And they were similar stories. And his staff, actually, now that I'm thinking about this, we actually knew one of his staff that worked out there, a young lady who was working as a waitress. She told about that going on all the time back in the kitchen. And yet, brides never they never knew, because he played that so straight with them. But
it's kind of crazy that he could be so one-sided to everything except for dealing with a couple.
Yeah. And maybe it was one of those situations where he didn't have the full. He was the owner of the establishment, but maybe he wasn't the one who was really engaging with them. It could be. I couldn't tell you. That was a number of years ago. But yeah, these statements that some of the things that were just completely cringeworthy that you just don't do. And today he would have probably had someone calling the police on him, as far as or there would have been something to that level, because not that he was, at least I don't know if he was physically touching anybody or saying anything or doing that, but he was saying things that would have gotten probably an attorney involved in one way, shape, or form. Mm-hmm. So. And the last one I wanted to talk about, and this is the one that actually I've run into on occasion, because a lot of my catering managers that I work with and the people planning these events are women who, as a male DJ, have absolutely that I don't know what I'm doing when it comes to being involved with a wedding. You do one thing, you go play music. Mm-hmm. Don't do any, and it's like, okay, yeah, you're a guy. You don't understand any of this. Go back in your corner. And I've had the man hating one venue manager. She is that way. She absolutely hates male DJs. I think now that I'm thinking about it, I think there's a couple of bridal or coordinators or planners, wedding planners, that are that way. So one of them, she has 3 DJs that she recommends, and they're all female DJs. Her reason is because women can relate to the bride much better than guys can, which is probably very true. I'm not going to say it's not, but
To say that only.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not based on what the couple needs. It's based on what she perceives. And she's, again, not a big fan of male DJs. And maybe, I'm not sure what caused it. If it was just that she has had a bad experience with a lot of DJs and just related it to gender more than skills and ability and maturity, or what the deal is. In that particular case with her, that's another one that I have no idea of what to do. I actually reached out to her early when she came into the industry, and we had a great conversation because I was talking to her from the aspect of being a fellow coordinator, and we had a great conversation. And we were sharing some ideas about a couple of venues, because there was one venue in particular that she had reached out to talk about, and we were talking about having a good. And then because she had seen my ad, my coordinating, being a certified bridal consultant, she saw that in the bridal booklet. And then when she's like, "And what else do you do?" And then once I mentioned the word DJ, she's like, she was done. She's like, "Okay, well, thanks anyway." Okay, what? Huh?
I almost wonder. You kind of go back. It's got to be that there was a bad experience, because in that instance, when you're talking about bridal consulting and stuff like that, that's almost something that's a little bit more. I don't want to say more direct, but how could you have difficulty, or how would you be able to relate like that to a bride, but then as a DJ you can't? I almost feel like, I almost wonder if it's more like the title of DJ is, okay, now you're here and you're male, so now you're done here.
Mm-hmm.
Versus the females that you have, well, DJ, but they're female, so that's a redeeming quality, so that brings them back up. Yeah, that would be a tough one. That would be a tough one. And I think in those situations is one of those where I kind of, especially when it being a coordinator as opposed to a venue, there's fortunately, at most she's probably working with 1 or 2 a weekend.
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be a lot more other couples that are going to be, that I had the possibility to be in front of. So those 1 or 2 are not going to be my clients, even no matter what. And so I just got to stop trying to lose sleep over it.
Yeah, and I think that's the big point, is that losing sleep over it, because they're not the beginning and the end of all. And over the years, I look at all the times I've worked with coordinators, and I've had some positive experiences, but most of the time it's either been neutral or negative. And it's not because of a conflict or anything. It's just that communication thing, even though they're hired to be the go-between and a communication for us, many times that, oh yeah, I forgot to tell you that second song we were supposed to play, yeah, they changed it this morning, and now it's this. Okay, do you realize that this may not be in my music library, because this is like, I've never heard it before? Yeah, back before Wi-Fi and internet, where you could grab most everything. Oh yeah. So that was our list, going through different personalities in venue managers. I'm sure a lot of you have run into different, I'm just watching the chat, and many of you have run into those, and sometimes you can deal with it, and sometimes you just have to call it a day and hope for the best next time.
Yeah. And I think the big takeaway that we've got to realize when we're looking at any of these types is, if it's an owner, they're probably not going anywhere anytime soon unless somebody catches wind to it.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
So the thing that we started out, your house, your rules, we come alongside, we try and help, but ideally what they say is what's going to happen to be. When it's a manager, don't lose sleep over it, because, again, try to play the right card, but if it's a manager who's creating enough of a problem, they're probably not going to be around very long. So just trying to play that good card. And ideally, again, if you stick in your area, when you have just these overly difficult ones, you're not going to get distracted. Like I shared the story in the beginning where I got distracted because of what happened.
Right.
If you find yourself not making any headway, focus on what you know. Focus on your area. Yes, this could have been the party was here and we could have taken it to here if I was able to do those things. But you know what? You weren't. So focus on what you are able to do, so that way you've done the best possible job that's within the parameters you're allowed to work with.
Yeah, and ultimately because you're doing that the best you can for the client, the bride and the groom in this case, who you want to have a positive memory of the day, not the, well, our wedding would have been so much better except XYZ happened, and then that threw that off and that off and that off, and kind of gets back to that never let them see you sweat. And it kind of fits into that thing is don't let them see you be disgruntled over here, and do what you need to do. Excellent. Cool.
Yeah.
And I think that's our time for tonight.
Yeah. That's what happens when you got 10 different things to get through. It takes a little
It does take some
bit,
time. Yeah. We had some good chat things thrown in here. So yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Between YouTube and I had a few Facebook here. I'm sorry I didn't get to the Facebook ones. I didn't start the chat up early enough to see, and all of a sudden I just went to the window. It's like sorry. Next time. Join us on YouTube, the YouTube one. You can go to discjockeynews.com/live during our show, and that always takes you to the player. So you can find it no matter what the URL is. It just automatically takes you to the live video that's playing right now. So
it's the cheating way to get
but at least you can get there.
So some great shows coming up this week, of course. I say that every week, and I'm sure some of you go, yeah, he's paid to say that. No, I legitly, I mean, I'm just making up words like crazy.
Yeah, you are.
Like,
yeah.
Almost making up words like Megan.
English new to you?
Yeah, pretty much. I teach math, remember?
Yeah.
But with that note, a lot of great shows that you do have to check out. And I'm telling you, if you're not part of seeing those, whether it's 5 minutes, whether it's 10 minutes, whether these entire shows that you have, there's great content always available. Do yourself a favor, make sure you're tuning in. As John said, if you know a live show is happening and you don't remember the link, worst case scenario, just type in discjockeynews.com/live and you get the great show. And that's all there is. It's cool. It's fun.
Quick and easy.
What you need to do. So,
yeah, we've got Brian. Tomorrow night, Ben Stowe is going to be talking about using the proper extension cords, which may not sound too exciting. And it isn't up until the time you use the wrong one and find out what kind of things it can do to you. Then Brian and I are going to do kind of our fall wedding recap, talking about some of the fall events we had. Then Wednesday, we've got a photo booth that we're going to be talking about managing your photo booth business with a CRM system. And then Jeremy and Dave are back, and they're going to do a recap of Wedding MBA this week. Plus, it's going to be two episodes of PhDJ are going to drop this week. One from last Thursday, which we messed up. That was my fault because I was in Louisville. And then the regular Thursday one will fall, and Randy Bartlett will be there Wednesday morning. So, yeah, we've got a full schedule this week.
Nice. Lots of stuff to keep you busy or preoccupied or distracted.
Whatever you need.
Well, thank you very much again for taking your time to join us. It's been a pleasure reading the chat and being a part of your Monday evening. If you're catching us later in the week, thank you very much for taking time, whatever your busy schedule is, to tune in. It's been fun. Thank you. Have a great night.
Good night, everybody.